I think Miami's the best team in college football. I think that they right now against anyone would win. I mean, I kind of exaggerated when I said like there's a distant second because there isn't a distant second, but I do think there's, yeah, they are the best. They have proven week in and week out. And every time I watched and I rewatched the coach's tape yesterday on my flight back, it is a professional football team. There's no gimmicks, there's no up tempo, there's no super wide, and I'm not like I'm not anti any of that. Don't get me wrong. I'm not anti what some of these offenses do across the country. But when you watch a team like Miami, EMAC, that just says, you know what, we don't need that. We can just line up and just beat you on both sides of the football. I am just utterly impressed with the way they play. Like I said, it feels like I'm watching an NFL game every time I turn on the tape and watch the Hurricanes.
Yeah, no, I'm right there with you. And listen, we've been saying they're the best team in the country for a while. It's been a while. You know, you go back and look at our rankings. We've had Miami right there just because that's what they look like. That's who they've been and the things that they do. And I love when you first kind of compared that a week or so ago to this is an NFL team because that is how they operate. I mean, Carson Beck and the things that he does. Gosh, it's so fun to watch, and you did a great tape of breaking some of that stuff down, but, you know, when you see him go through his reads, when you see him pre-snap, you know, look over to his great receiver and CJ Daniels and see that it's not press coverage on the goal line. Guess what? This RPO is coming. Here we go. And he did a great job faking the fade because that's what we all thought. Listen, back in when I was playing with Taj Boyd and Deshaun Watson, they love that goal line fade. It is a great stealing throw if you're really good at it. But they set it up and he hit him with a head nod. He's going and then boom, just broke inside for the slant and it was stealing. I mean, it was wide open and time again, Carson just delivered. But that offensive line, dude, he had days to throw the
Days.
ball. It was a perfect pocket. I was shocked that they weren't able to run the ball better, but FSU kind of dictated that. They loaded up the box. They kind of
Yeah.
wanted to force them, you know, to throw it. But let me tell you something. Malachi Tony is the real deal. I mean, he's the best
Special.
freshman in all of college
Special.
football. He wants that moment too, man. Like he has worked so hard for this. The hours that he has put in the film room, in the weight room, on the field extra. None of this is shocking to me. When I saw him in person that first time at camp, I'm just like, this dude looks like he's a junior and he's like a reclassified young freshman that's out here doing his thing. So nothing so far to me is shocking about what Miami's doing. This defense is outrageous. They had like 37 pressures on Tommy Castellanos. Ruben Bain, the best player in college football. They're just loaded. They're
They're
loaded. And
loaded.
that's what
They're
good
loaded.
teams do.
There really is still yet a weakness to be found, and I want two things. One, I want to give you credit because I remember when you did do that visit down to Miami, and I was not like super high on Miami. I think there's a lot of question marks, like what is Carson going to look like post surgery? You know, what's the arm going to look like? You know, what's the chemistry with the receivers going to look like? And you have not seen any issue. If anything, you've seen them excel in those areas that we were concerned about. Defense concerned about, nope, not concerned about them. Receivers, losing all those guys. Nope. One of the best receiving cores in the country based on what we've seen. Carson Beck's injury. Nope. Looks great. Looks terrific. Throwing the ball better than he's ever thrown in his life and playing with some swagger and some confidence. Kind of I always talk about with quarterbacks that like borderline of cocky confidence where you have to be. You have to feel like you are the baddest mother out there. And I feel like watching him, he's at that point right now where everything's in slow motion.
Yes.
He's in command. He knows where he's going. He's accurate with the football. So kudos to you for kind of seeing that and being willing to say that after you were down there in the preseason. But then, you know, going to FSU and then what they were doing defensively, like they were they were playing tight quarters, so essentially two safeties within 10 yards on line of scrimmage, heavy run action with those guys. Like anytime they saw any sort of run, they were filling. They were playing 7-man boxes, 4 down, 3 linebackers. So like there were multiple throughout the game. FSU had the advantage with numbers in the box. It was not great to run, and I'm not worried about Miami's run game. Like, oh my goodness, you know, Miami ran for 97 yards and 3-point yards per carry. Like for the casual fan that didn't watch it and watch the coach's tape and understand how defenses take away certain things. There's just nothing you can physically do unless you have Barry Sanders back there at running back. That's what it was. But what did Miami do? They play action. they brought those safeties up. They hit a post route for a big play. They hit Tony for a big touchdown. They hit another. They said, you know what? We're not afraid to lean on Carson and these receivers, which they shouldn't. So they are, as we've talked about with A&M, Texas A&M before, and how multiple they can win. Miami is that and some.
Yes.
They are
Yeah.
that and some. You can't. I don't know what you want to do when you face this team. 'Cause they can beat you over the top, they can beat you running it, they can beat you with quick screens, they can beat you with whatever it is. They are hitting on all cylinders on both sides of the football, and it's impressive. So, I wanna go to FSU real quick, talk about the defense, but what was your takeaways from that? Because I think I'm still high on FSU. I still think that Castellanos is terrific. I think the football team is terrific. I'm not like shipping in the season for them. What was it like seeing those guys live? Like, was there a big gap between the 2 teams in your opinion?
Yeah, real quick, I want to backtrack on what you said there because when we talk about balance for Miami offense, you just spelled it out perfectly. If a team wants to take something away, do you still have an answer? Miami, that is a resounding yes. It really is. And I want to talk about something else after we talk FSU here on finishing games for Miami. That maybe a little flags going up, a
Yeah.
little. I'm paying
Yeah.
attention to it. We'll bring that back up here. But I think from a quarterback perspective, we knew whoever made the mistake, the other team was going to be able to capitalize. And we just saw again in the Virginia game, and now in this game, Tommy maybe trying to force something, maybe a big play that didn't go the right way, and a momentum shift and a big swing. And maybe it's a big penalty because there was a couple of those too that stall out a drive, and now FSU has to punt, or maybe it's going for it on 4th and 8, which I thought was a interesting decision at midfield. Pin them deep. It's 3-7. There's good momentum both ways. And then Miami just totally ripped it away and took a shot the very next play for a huge touchdown and scored 14-3 now, and it feels way different. So I think there was some intriguing things early when it's 28-3 going in the fourth quarter. You're just like, okay, hope this doesn't get too much uglier. But FSU fought their tail off. Tommy Castellanos put everything on the line, and he delivered. And listen, when you look from a yardage standpoint, he had more yards. Now he threw it way more, and they're pushing it
Yeah.
back
You
downfield.
don't
He's
want Tommy
behind.
throwing 45 times. I
I
think he's
don't. I
happy
don't
somewhere in
want
the
that. I
like
don't want that.
mid-20s.
But you're behind 28-3, so you
Yeah,
have
you
to.
have to.
You've got to go. You've got to push it. You've got to do different things. And on the other side, Carson Beck and the boys they're pulling it way back, saying, "Let's slow this down. Let's get this game over from an offensive standpoint." So I think that the answer though is when Florida State needs Tommy, Tommy delivers, and he gets them down there, and he puts you in the situation to win, and them, scoring, whatever it was, 19 points or so in the fourth quarter. That's impressive, and I like to see that from him. So he finds a way to be able to do it, and so got something playing in my background. Look out! And so at the end of the day, he is that guy for them. So I'm with you. They faced 2 really good teams in a row, have to find a win, get back in the win column. You've got Pittsburgh, who's hot right now. They just found a freshman quarterback. I don't know if you saw that kid throwing
Mm-mm.
the ball out of nowhere for 3+4 touchdowns. So that they're coming to town, and now Florida State. How do you get back in the win column? How do you be the team that you were for the first 3 weeks of the season?
It starts with Tommy, and I think running the football, creating some explosives. I'm still very bullish on them. You brought it up, you teased it real quick before we move on to our next game as we look to Texas, Florida. How concerned are you with Miami's inability at times to like I'm never gonna say the same thing with Notre Dame, like, it never felt like they were ever gonna lose the game. We've said that multiple times. Like, some of these games, you look at the scoreboard, and you're like, "Oh, they didn't beat them by, 50 points, so it wasn't a great win," or, "Well, they're not dominating." You're like, "No, watch the game." Like, it was never in doubt. We're never worried. Miami was by far the better football team. But does it concern you that there isn't maybe this killer instinct that we can put a team away in the fourth quarter, and is that gonna bite them in the butt at some point in the season? When you look at their schedule, it doesn't look like really it could, but you never know.
Yeah, I wonder, and I'm going to throw this back to you after I kind of say this. I just wonder, can we approach it differently? Because when it's 28-3, and listen, the game's over. I mean, you won, until it's not, but it's over. And how can we just go 4-minute offense, still need to throw it, still need to run high, volume plays, but slow it down enough to where we're taking the game out. Now, when you have to crank that back up, that's where things get weird. Like Carson ain't throwing the ball. He's like, hey, my shoulder's a little cold now. I've got to deliver these strikes. Wide receivers aren't feeling it. So it was kind of weird. So I'm not concerned, but I am paying attention because that to
Yes.
me, what a massive statement to be able to grind it out, run the ball at will, and take the game away. And Miami couldn't do that. Now, again, still won, dominating game. I'm not taking anything away from that. But there would have been an extra oomph to me if they could have, and if they would have done that. So as a quarterback, what would you what do you want to do in those situations of, hey, let's just shorten this game and let's be maybe a little bit more vanilla or a little
Well, I
more
think the hard
safe.
part was, like, you were having success because Florida State was so aggressive, and you're having success throwing the ball down the field. I don't know in that situation if you wanna continue throwing the ball down the field because
Right.
your best friend is the clock. So, we're gonna throw quick screens, we're gonna do bootlegs, we're obviously gonna try to run the football. So, a lot of things where that, hey, high success of making a completion or a run where the clock is running and you're taking off 35, 40 seconds per play. So I think that's the hard part just based on what Florida State was doing. Maybe you hope you pop one, kind of like Alabama Vandy. We'll talk about that one. They pop the run for a touchdown. They're just trying to burn time, and then Vandy gets too aggressive, and the running play turns for a 30-yard touchdown. So I don't think there's much you can do unless you just say screw it. Let's just they want to go engage 8, then we'll throw a post over the top and we'll rip them and really rip their throats out. I think they are very secure with themselves right now. I think that they don't care that the game could get close in the fourth quarter. They know that the game is in hand and they're going to find a way to win it regardless and be done with it. But when they do face a team, and it may not be the rest of the season, that's the hard part right now. I think if you are Miami, you look at your schedule and you say, okay, it's Louisville, a good football team, but it's Louisville, Stanford, SMU, Syracuse, NC State, Virginia Tech, Pitt. There's not a team on that schedule that we cannot physically dominate, like physically just beat up and just never look back. But there is going to be a game where there are going to be teams that are physically capable of hanging with you. You're going to have a fourth quarter where it's not going to be as secure. And I just don't know right now if they've shown that killer instinct, and if they're going to have an opportunity to show that killer instinct over the next, 6, 7 games of the season.
Right. Well,
And
I
that's a
think what
long
it
time
is.
not to not
Yeah.
that's a long time not to flex those muscles.
Right. I
And
agree
I don't
with
wanna
you.
I'm not trying to make this a big deal either because I'm not that worried about it, but it
Yeah.
is something to just like you alluded to,
Something to pay
keep your eye
attention.
on.
It's something we've noticed, and
Yeah.
I think can Carson Beck, who has been at Georgia and has seen how to win at the highest level and been a part of it, how can he take any complacency that might creep in? Because you're right, they're going to be big favorite in every game moving forward. How can they just make it about the you? How can they just make it about us? It's our standard. We're not worried about who we play. Don't care about them. How can we execute? That's how I'll see that killer instinct. If they can just win by double digits throughout and
Yeah.
carry business, then you're like, okay,
But
this
they're gonna have a game here or there where it may be
they might, they might,
but
and
I
then you
but
got
it's
to
still
reach in
I
and get
don't
it.
think it's gonna feel like they're gonna lose the game. It just the scoreboard may reflect that it feels closer than if you actually watch the game, just like Notre Dame, just like this FSU game as
For
well.
sure.
But Miami, man, our number 1 team in the country, terrific, terrific win against FSU on the road too. Like you said, hostile environment. We don't know what they're gonna look like. This is the first game away from Coral Gables, and they absolutely kicked butt, and that